Our sick and ailing president had at least a dozen doctors today on standby in the Oval Office. And at first glance, you would assume it's because of Donald Trump's clear and obvious cognitive and physical decline. But actually, it was because of the announcement that he was making today. But given how this Oval Office press conference went, I think it's because Donald Trump needed them for the medical attention. It certainly seemed that way, as he was showing how sick he is and falling asleep as the doctors tried to save him. And a press conference gone completely off the rails that we are going to get into. But before we do, if I could quickly ask you to leave a like on this video, and if you haven't already, and you enjoy our channel, to hit that subscribe button, because it goes a long way in supporting our work. Now, before we get into Donald Trump falling asleep, doctors trying to keep them awake, and exactly just how this colors Donald Trump's entire collapsing presidency, I want to start with the dumbest announcement we have seen in a long time from Donald Trump, and it's the renaming of the Kennedy Center. Brace yourself for this one.
She just posted on X, your press secretary, that the board members of the Kennedy Center voted unanimously to rename it the Trump Kennedy Center. What is your reaction to that?
Well, I was honored by it. The board is a very distinguished board, most distinguished people in the country. And I was surprised by it. I was honored by it. You know, we're saving the building. We saved the building. The building was in such bad shape, both physically, financially, and every other way. And now it's very solid, very strong. We have something going on television, I guess, on the 23rd December. I think it's going to get very big ratings. And the Kennedy Center is really back strongly.
I honestly don't know what's dumber: the naming of the Kennedy Center, the Trump Kennedy Center, or the fact that Donald Trump is trying to sell us on an idea that he is, one, surprised, and two, the members who comprise this board, and it's like his goons, and Melania and Usha Vance, by the way, are the most distinguished just people broadly in the country, in the world. How is he saying that he's surprised? What is he surprised by? He asked them to do it. He begged them to do it. All he has done his entire life is slap his name on buildings that he makes shittier with his name. That's it. And we're supposed to believe that Donald Trump is surprised. Honestly, if you need an insight into his cognitive decline, maybe he actually was surprised. Maybe he didn't know just because his brain is made of such pudding at this point. But Donald Trump was actually pressed on the real reason for this press conference, yet stayed about as stupid as that answer was.
Do you want Congress to extend these ACA subsidies?
Well, I'd like not to be able to do it. I'd like to get right into this, and I'd ask Oz this question in particular, but I'd like to see us get right into this. I don't know why we have to extend. This could be done rapidly if the Democrats would come along. We have a problem. The insurance companies own the Democrat Party. They own it. And the Democrats having a hard time. They give a lot of money to the Democrats. Very little money to Republicans, by the way. A lot of money to Democrats. And they're going to have to decide, do they want to do the right thing, or do they want to be beholden to the, insurance companies? They're making a fortune. I want the money to go to the people.
So Donald Trump is mad that both Republicans and Democrats, only for Republicans though, so let's not give them too much credit, want to extend these ACA subsidies so people don't see their premiums double and triple and have 24 million people kicked off of their health insurance. And Donald Trump is mad that they're not getting into it. Getting into what? You don't have a plan. You don't have a plan saying we'll give them money without any specificity or reason or action. That is not a plan. But what Donald Trump's plan seems to be is just to continue to get mad at Barack Obama before, of course, he tuckered himself out and had a little snooze.
Question on your healthcare plan. You've said you want to make direct payments to Americans, but these Obamacare subsidies are expiring now in a matter of just a few days. More than 20 million Americans are now bracing for their premiums to skyrocket. Are you going to let this happen, or will you intervene?
Yeah, they will skyrocket because it was never any good. I'd like to see the money that is going to the insurance companies by the hundreds of billions of dollars. Their stocks are up 1,400%, 1,800%, and 1,624%. Their stocks are up through the roof over a fairly short period of time because they're getting vast amounts of money. I want that money to go to the people directly and let the people buy their own health care. And They'll get much better health care than they get with the Unaffordable Care Act, as it's known by a lot of people. It is virtually unaffordable for people. It's a bad thing. We can have a great thing. Let the money go directly to the people and let them buy their own health care.
Oh, yes. It's always Obama's fault. Always Obama's fault. We can rest assured knowing that it is always Barack Obama's fault. Somehow, some way, Donald Trump will loop in the man who lives in his head rent-free. But it's not the only thing that was in his head during this press conference. Because clearly, Donald Trump is dreaming of gumdrops and sugary treats and the reindeer on the roof of his ballroom, because he was falling asleep. As you can see, Donald Trump taking a snooze surrounded by doctors who are probably thinking to themselves, did he not get his Adderall prescription this morning? Did we not put the shot of B12 into his giant flabby ass? Like, were we not able to keep him awake? Trump in this press conference talked about how he doesn't believe in doing any drugs. But I think Don Jr. certainly has explored that territory plenty. But the doctors were literally trying to keep him awake in this clip right here. You can see him, like, jerk awake and realize that he's falling asleep as they're trying to talk loud enough to wake him up.
Sources of cannabis rather than relying on one or two sources around the country. And last but not least, it'll let us do the sorts of large-scale randomized controlled trials that we do in oncology and cardiology.
We are in the point of the old man's presidency that he has doctors surrounding him at all times. Again, I'm going to go ahead and play conspiracy theory here. Maybe Donald Trump was tuckered out after his big speech last night, in which he just screamed at America on national television for 19 minutes straight. And so they thought Carolyn Levitt, Stephen Miller, Susie Wild, they got together and thought, okay, if this thing is gonna all go badly, let's have enough medical professionals on standby, ready to go to make sure that we can address the crumbling president's health. And that's exactly what happened. This is exactly what Donald Trump needed, jerking awake, looking as ridiculous as he does. It is embarrassing that this is our president. I know we talk about the destruction and the corruption and the criminality and all of it, but we also are allowed to talk about just how embarrassing and tiring it is that this guy is in charge. Pete Hegseth today said, too many of America's young people are fat and dumb. Donald Trump is the dumbest fat ass out there, and he is president. Maybe we should be a little upset with how stupid our commander-in-chief is. It's embarrassing, and I'm tired of it. And clearly everybody else is too, because the presidency public perception is not looking too good.
White House. Now, to be clear, it's not expected to be an Oval Office address, which is its own sort of genre, you know, sitting at the desk. And it's usually that's kind of like a somber address, and there's some big reason they're doing it. And it obviously won't be an East Wing address either, and I guess you can guess why. The East Wing has been bulldozed by the president. So the president will instead speak from the diplomatic reception room, and he gave us a little preview of his message this afternoon.
What's your message this evening?
Well, I think the message this evening is we inherited a mess, and we've done a great job, and we continue to, and our country is going to be stronger than ever before very soon. Thank you very much, everybody.
Yeah, that's about what I would expect. So unless he surprises us, which who knows, the speech will apparently be about how great everything is, just in case you missed him at the beautiful Mount Airy Lodge and Casino last week. Trump clearly thinks he can talk his way out of the political mess that his mismanagement and lawlessness and corruption and cruelty have gotten him into so far. And so far, that's not working. Because as we have seen twice now, the American people can sometimes develop a sense of amnesia around Donald Trump, and somewhat understandably because the way he acts is so hard to really look in the face. It's so aberrant. It's almost comforting to forget it. And what happens, I think, is the public temporarily forgets who he is around election time. It's happened twice. And then they remember why they dislike him so much not long after. Trump's political support and control over the Republican Party are eroding before our eyes. A new AP poll today has his approval rating at 36%, which matches what Gallup found last month. And when you start seeing approval ratings that start with the number 3, that is when things get very, very dire politically. That is usually the line at which panic starts to set in a little bit with your co-partisans. Now, for the record, that 36% is only 2 points higher than Trump's approval after January 6, 2021. So the president is clearly desperate to change the narrative, and he's taking the airwaves to cajole us all into not believing our lying eyes when it comes to, well, chiefly the cost of living. And on the same day that Trump desperately tries to right the ship, we got another illustration of just how much his political standing has eroded in just the last few months. Because today, 4 Republicans signed on to a Democratic discharge petition to force a House vote on a 3-year extension of insurance subsidies that are set to expire for tens of millions of Americans 2 weeks from today. And they did so in explicit defiance of both Republican Speaker of the House Mike Johnson and Donald Trump, who ultimately wields the power of the speakership functionally. Now, this has become something of an emerging pattern. You'll remember last month, Republicans joined with Democrats to force an ultimately successful vote to repeal a Trump executive order that tried to bust collective bargaining rights for some federal workers. And that was a big deal. And of course, before that, there was the very notable discharge petition to force a vote on releasing the Epstein files, which Trump and Johnson lobbied aggressively against, right? Remember, they called Lauren Boebert into the Situation Room to turn the screws? To no avail. By the way, the deadline to release those files is this Friday. We'll be watching for that. Now, I've covered, Congress for decades, and I've covered a lot of discharge petitions. They're not unheard of. It's like, I was like a fake field goal in football, right? Like, it does happen, but usually it doesn't. It's very unusual to see so many back-to-back-to-back and successful ones. And this all speaks to the same underlying dynamic. Trump is on the wrong side of public opinion on a bunch of important issues, and he is politically weak. Specifically today, the big issue he's on the wrong side of, the one that Americans in poll after poll after poll say is most important, is the cost of living, and in this case, the cost of health care. Things cost too much. Voters hate it. They are blaming Trump for breaking his promise to, and you'll remember what it was, lower prices on day one of his presidency. Not just reduce the rate of inflation, lower prices. Now, Democrats in this instance are unified in bringing down insurance premiums, or at least not allowing them to spike. Republicans are not, which is why the Democrats are going to get their vote. And so now Mike Johnson is running around having to say things like this.
Have you lost control of the House?
I have not lost control of the House.
Now, I got to say, he is right about that, right? But having the thinnest majority of all time is also a little bit in tension with, like, the huge MAGA mandate. And if you're telling reporters that you have not lost control of the House, well, then you've probably lost control of the House.
It is a bad nightmare for Donald Trump, which it seems like he is having almost every other day in the Oval Office. That is the current state of things. It is all falling apart, and we are going to continue to call it out on this show. And if you want to support that, as always, you can hit that subscribe button, leave a like on this video. If you stuck around at the end, drop a blue heart in the comments. Keep on fighting, y'all. Don't let them silence you. And until next time, I'll see you soon.